Hi everybody, John Wheeler here, Pro Staffer for Sword AccuSight. I'll give you some tips today on how to set up the Sword Titan. Titan comes in a hard case. When you open it up, it will be in pieces. You have your scope and what I call the scope carrier. You have your sight bar. You can tell this sight has been used. I just took it apart for purposes of this video. And then you'll have the mount that goes on the bow. To put the sight together, simply slide the dovetail into the slot. Take your hex wrench or Allen wrench, tighten this screw. The sight is put together. I'm using a couple different sights for demonstration purposes today. One that's already set up. The mount goes on the bow like so. These two holes back here are actually for quiver mounting. This is your sight mount holes. This is your lockdown knob. I prefer to leave my lockdown knob in the bow. Just loosen it enough to get the sight out. Slide the sight in. I prefer to have mine right about here because that's where it fits my peep sight best. You want to make sure your peep sight fits your peep housing. Now, on sighting in, you have your scope. This is your pointer. Your pointer can be adjusted by loosening this screw, sliding it backwards or forwards, and then locking it down. The adjustment for the scope, your lockdown knob loosens here, and then you can run the sight up or down by turning either the top or bottom knob. Sight will also come with some sight tapes. Those will come in an envelope and be underneath the foam. So typical set of sight tapes, one for numbers on the right, one for numbers on the left. If you're a right-handed shooter, you're probably going to need the ones with the numbers on the right. It'll say left on the card because that's where the marks are, is on the left side. To sight in the Titan, I recommend have your bow tuned. I like to start off at a distance of about 5 yards. Sight the bow in at 5 yards, and that will get you pretty close at 20 yards. Once you've sighted the bow in at 20 yards, I prefer to make 2 marks. The 2 marks would be 30 yards and 60 yards. The sight bar is anodized. You can write on it with a pencil and it'll just wipe off. So what you want to do is make a 30-yard mark and a 60-yard mark to get, this is where I get my most accurate marks. You can go a little bit further than 60 if you're that good a shooter. I just find that 30 and 60 is where I get a really good solid sight tape. So you want to make a 30-yard mark, you want to make an educated guess on a 60-yard mark, and sight that in and make a mark there. Then you take this tape and what I prefer to do is fold in between the individual tapes. And you want to find the tape that exactly matches your 30-yard mark and your 60-yard mark. Once you have that, I like to clean the bar off, leave the sight set on 60 yards or leave the sight set on 30 yards. Either way, just leave the sight set where it's at. I like to take the pointer off, but don't move the sight. Put the sight tape on, put the pointer where it corresponds to the mark that you have it set on. Like I said, I like to use 60 yards. Once you've done that, your bow is basically sighted in. After that, you just need to check it. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, however you want to check it. But that should give you a very solid sight tape. Also, if you choose to use a lens, I personally don't use one outside. I use one inside, but not outside. If you want to use a lens, on the front of the scope housing, there's a ring. This ring unscrews, comes out. There's a rubber gasket inside there. You want to set your lens down on top of the gasket, and then just screw the ring down until it's snug. Don't over tighten it, just snug it. Now, at times when you take your lens out to clean it, make sure that you put it back in exactly the same position, because it will change your point of impact if you vary the rotation of the lens. So just make sure it's in the same position every time you take it out or put it in. If you have any other questions, your second and third axis comes set from the factory. That doesn't mean you won't have to adjust it. Third axis varies with how much each particular bow is torqued, which varies by how you grip the bow. The best way to check your third axis is shoot a couple of extreme uphill and extreme downhill shots and adjust your third axis until you can get all of your arrows to hit in the same vertical line. Then your third axis is set. Generally don't have to do too much with the second axis, which is these two bolts here. The third axis is these bolts here. The third axis will swing your sight like a door hinge, in and out. The second axis will swing your whole sight bar on a vertical plane, left and right. You want to make sure that when you're at full draw and comfortable, that your bubble sits right in the middle, and it should naturally do that once you get the bow and sight set up in the optimum position. I like to change mine with my stabilizers. Back bar angles, front bar angles, everything can make a little bit of difference so that it's natural for the bubble to be in the middle and you not fight it. If you have any other questions, give Rod Notestein a call at Sword AccuSight. He'll be glad to help, or he'll give you my phone number and you can call me and I'll be glad to help. Thanks for your time. Good luck.